Listen closely. A shiny black car stops in front of a tall gate in Lagos. A new driver steps out. He smiles. In that big house lives a rich woman named Grace. In that same house lives her husband, Daniel, and their little girl, Lily. In the next few minutes, Grace will make a small choice that looks sweet, like sugar on bread. But sugar can bring ants. This story is about how a small, sweet choice can bring many ants into a home. Do not blink. The lesson can save a family. Grace had a soft voice and a kind face. She liked neat rooms, clean flowers in vases, and the smell of new books. She owned a small fashion company that made simple dresses. She worked hard. She paid people well. She also liked to help a local school with books and shoes. People called her Madam Grace because she was gentle and gave with a smile. Daniel, her husband, was tall, quiet, and smart. He built houses. He was always busy with plans, bricks, workers, and meetings. He loved Grace and Lily. He prayed with them at night and made pancakes every Sunday morning. But his work pulled him away many days. He would leave before the sun woke and return when the sky was dark. He would kiss Lily on the forehead and sit on the couch, like a tree trunk that had carried too much weight. He was a good man, but he was tired. Lily was 8. She had bright eyes and loved to draw. She carried crayons in a small pink bag and drew on any paper she saw. She drew birds, cars, and smiling faces. She called her mother Mummy and her father Daddy. She liked to ask questions. Why does rain fall? Why do drivers wear caps? Why do people wave in traffic? The day the new driver came, the old driver had moved to another town to care for his mother. The gate man, Peter, opened the gate and waved the new driver in. The new driver was young, maybe 25. His name was Sam. He had neat hair, clean clothes, and a soft smile that stayed on his face like sunshine on a window. He stood straight and spoke gently. "Good morning, madam," he said the first time he met Grace. "I am Sam. I am ready to work. Thank you." "Sam," said Grace. "Welcome." From the first week, Sam was careful with the car. He drove slowly on rough roads and did not honk without reason. He kept the car clean and shiny. He came early and waited. He opened doors for Grace and for Lily. He greeted everyone, from the cook to the gardener. He did not talk too much. He listened. Grace noticed that Sam paid attention. If she liked the car cool, he set the air just right. If Lily wanted a song, he found a soft song on the radio. If the sun was bright, he moved the car a little so the shade would touch the back seat where Grace sat. These were small things. But small things can feel big when your days are busy and your heart is a little lonely. Grace did not plan to feel lonely. She had love in her house, but Daniel was away many hours. When he was home, he was often tired. And when a person is tired, even love sometimes speaks softly instead of dancing loudly. Grace did not want much. She wanted to be seen. She wanted someone to ask, "How are you today?" not just did the delivery arrive. She wanted to share a story about a red bird she saw, or a joke Lily told. She wanted to feel light. One Tuesday morning, Grace and Sam drove to the fabric market. A warm breeze blew through the half-open window. Grace held a notebook on her lap. She had a list of colors to buy for a new set of dresses. Blue like the sky after rain, yellow like ripe mango, white like fresh milk. The road was busy. Traders walked with baskets. Children ran and laughed. A woman carried bananas on her head and sang. Sam drove slowly, careful as always. "Madam," he said in a soft voice, "do you want the window a little more open?" "The day is fresh. Thank you, Sam," Grace said. Just a little more. They did not talk much. But when they did, Sam asked gentle questions. Not like a gossip, but like a person who cared. He asked, "How is your work today? Are the new dresses selling well?" "How is Lily? Is she drawing more birds?" Grace answered. She found herself telling small stories. She told about the time Lily tried to make pancakes and put salt instead of sugar. She told about a woman who came to her shop and cried because the dress fit so well she felt new. Sam listened and smiled. He said, "That is good, madam. That is very good." That evening, Grace sat on the couch with Daniel. She told him the dress story, too. He kissed her hand, smiled, and said he was happy. Then his phone rang. A building site had a problem. He stood up, said sorry, and took the call. Grace looked at the wall clock and then at the window. She wished the call would end fast. It did not. A week later, rain fell hard. The road to the office was like a river of moving cars. Grace had a headache. She closed her eyes and leaned back in the car. Sam looked at the mirror and saw her face. "Madam, would you like some water?" he asked. "Yes, thank you," she said. He passed a bottle back to her. His hand was clean and steady. When she took the water, their fingers did not touch, but Grace felt seen. She drank and felt a little better. Sam said, "We can take the smaller road by the church. It is longer in distance but faster in time because the big road is blocked." "You know this city well," Grace said. "I grew up here," he replied. "My father drove too. He taught me to know many roads. If one is blocked, there is always another path." Grace looked out the window at the church white walls. Another path, she thought. Something about those words stayed in her mind like a small seed. On Friday, the car broke down for a short time near the office. Sam called a friend, fixed it fast, and cleaned his hands with a small towel. Grace stood under a tree to stay out of the sun. When Sam finished, he walked to her and said, "Sorry for the trouble, madam, we can go now." "Thank you, Sam," she said. "You handled it well," he smiled. "My father used to say a driver is not just a driver. A driver is a calm mind on wheels." Grace laughed softly. "That is a good line," she said. He looked at her and smiled again. Her laugh was warm. In that smile and that laugh, something small woke up, like a quiet bird in a cage suddenly flapping its wings. Days became weeks. Grace began to enjoy the car rides more than before. Not because of the car. Because someone asked about her day and really listened. Because someone remembered that Lily liked purple ice cream. Because someone said, "You are doing well, madame," when she finished a hard meeting. These are small things. But a thirsty plant does not need a lake. Sometimes a small cup of water can make it think it is near a river. At home, Daniel tried to do better. He brought flowers one night. He took them to a small restaurant on a Saturday. They talked about school fees, about a new house he wanted to build, about a family trip. But they did not talk about feelings. Sometimes, when you do not use a door for a long time, the hinges become stiff. The door can still open, but it needs oil and gentle hands. They had not yet brought the oil. One afternoon, Grace forgot her phone in the car. She came back to get it and found Sam cleaning the dashboard. He looked up and smiled. "Madam, your phone," he said, and lifted it from the seat. "Thanks," Grace said. She noticed he had a small scar on his wrist, thin like a pencil line. She asked, "How did you get that?" He looked at the scar, smiled, and said, "When I was little, I tried to fix my toy car with a sharp tool. I was too fast and cut myself. My mother said, 'Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.' I remember it when I drive." That made Grace smile. She said, "Your mother sounds wise." "She is," he said, and his eyes went soft. Grace felt a pull in her chest. She was not blind. She knew the pull was the start of trouble. She told herself, "This is nothing. This is only kindness. Do not feed it." But kindness can warm a cold room, and if you are cold for long enough, even a small fire can look like the sun. One evening, after a long day, Grace asked Sam to stop by the lagoon. The water was calm. Birds flew low. The city sounds were soft. She wanted a moment of quiet before going home to cook dinner. She told Sam to park and wait. She stepped out and stood near the water. She watched it move in small waves. Sam stood by the car, not too close. The wind moved the edge of his shirt. He kept his eyes down, respectful. Grace felt safe. She felt seen. She felt something she had not felt in a long time. A light joy like when you first ride a bicycle without falling. She said, "Thank you for today." He said, "You are welcome." "Madame," there was a silence that was not heavy. It was gentle, like a blanket. But inside that blanket, a wrong path began to draw itself in the sand. She could see it. She knew it. She turned away and said, "Let us go home." That night Grace could not sleep. She looked at Daniel sleeping. He looked peaceful, but a line of worry sat on his forehead, even in sleep. She touched his hand. He did not wake. She whispered, "We used to talk more. Do you remember?" He did not answer. Of course he did not. She lay back and thought of the small path in the sand by the lagoon. The next week, the school called. Lily needed a parent to tell a story to her class on reading day. Daniel could not go because of a sight visit. Grace went. She told a story about a bird that had to choose between two trees, one with sweet fruit, one with strong branches. The children listened and clapped. Lily hugged her. On the drive home, Grace said, "I am happy. Thank you for waiting, Sam. I like that story," he said. "The bird must choose well. Sweet fruit does not last if the branches are weak." Grace looked at him. He had heard the lesson. She wondered if she was the bird. She did not like the answer. It happened slowly, like a pot of water warming on a small flame. First, Grace told Sam one more story than usual. Then she asked him one small question about his life. Then she laughed a little longer at his jokes. Then one day, when her hand brushed the door, his hand was there and their fingers touched. It was a short touch, but it felt like a bell. It rang in her chest all day. She told herself, "Stop." But the small bell kept ringing. One rainy afternoon, a tire burst on a quiet road. They pulled over under a tree. The rain hit the leaves and sang a fast song. Sam changed the tire quickly, but his shirt got wet. Grace sat in the back seat. When he was done, he opened the door and asked if she was okay. She looked at him, rain on his face, kindness in his eyes, and she felt the small bird inside her beat its wings again. "I am fine," she said in a small voice. He stood there, waiting, as if for a door to open. In that moment, a person can take one of two roads. One road is hard at first, but saves a home. The other is easy at first, but breaks a home. Grace knew which was which. She knew it, like she knew her name. She could have said, "Thank you, Sam. Please drive me home." She could have called her friend Anna and said, "I am in trouble. Please pray with me." She could have called Daniel and said, "Meet me at home. I need to talk." But she did not. She said, "Thank you, Sam. Please wait a minute." She stepped out with an umbrella and stood too close while he closed the trunk. It was only a small closeness. But small flames can start big fires. From that day, small closeness turned into small secrets. Grace told herself it was not an affair because they had not done anything people call big. But an affair does not start big. It starts with a small step in a wrong direction. They began to send kind messages at odd times. "Good morning, madam. Hope you slept well." "Thank you, Sam, I did." "How is your mother?" "Fine, madam. How is Lily? She is fine." It seemed harmless. But fear and shame began to grow roots. Peter the gateman noticed that the car returned later, some evenings, even when there was no traffic. The cook noticed that Madam hummed songs that were not her usual songs. Lily noticed that Mummy was on her phone more and smiled at the screen in a way she used to smile at Daddy. Children can see what adults hide. Their hearts are small but sharp. One Sunday, Daniel found a small smile on Grace's face when she read a message. He asked, "What is funny?" She closed the phone fast and said, "Nothing." He nodded, but something in his chest felt heavy. He told himself not to think too much. She is my wife. I trust her. But trust is like a glass cup. It can be full and strong. It can also be thin at the edges if you have not washed it with care for a long time. That week, Daniel tried again. He asked Grace to join him on a site visit. He said, "Come and see the house I am building for the Okonkwo family. The garden plan is beautiful." She said, "I have a meeting." He said, "Maybe after your meeting." She said, "I will see." She did not go. Sam noticed that Daniel was trying. He felt a knot in his stomach. He told himself, "Stop, this is your boss's wife. She is a kind woman. She is not yours. But desire is like a strong wind. If you do not stand firm, it will push you." One evening, the family ate dinner together. Lily told a long story about a school play. Daniel laughed with her and asked many questions. He put his phone away and looked at Grace with warm eyes. He wanted to start again. He wanted to oil the door. After dinner, he said to Grace, "Can we sit on the balcony and talk?" She said yes. They sat outside and the night air was soft. He said, "I feel like I have been far from you. I am sorry. Work has eaten my time. I want to come back. I want us to plan a trip. I want to hear your heart." Grace felt tears in her eyes. She wanted to tell him everything. But secrets make your tongue heavy. She said, "I am also sorry. I've held things inside. Let us plan a trip. Maybe Calabar." He smiled and reached for her hand. She gave it. It was warm and strong. In that moment, she almost turned around and walked away from the small wrong path in the sand. She almost called Sam the next morning to say, "Thank you for your work, but we must keep it only as work." She almost deleted the messages. Almost is not enough. The next day, Daniel had to travel 2 nights for a project meeting. He kissed Grace and Lily and left. Grace stood at the gate and waved. Peter, the gate man, greeted. Sam stood by the car. That evening, it rained again. The city lights looked like stars on the wet road. Grace asked Sam to stop by a small food place to buy suya. They laughed with the seller, who joked about extra pepper. They walked back to the car, and their hands touched again by accident. This time they did not move away fast. Grace sat in the back. Sam sat in the front. The car smelled of wet air and roasted meat. She said, "Thank you, Sam." He said, "You are welcome, madam." The word madam felt too big for the small, warm space in the car at that moment. He turned to look at her. She looked back. Silence filled the car like thick fog. Somewhere far away, a horn sounded. Somewhere near, a heart drummed. 2 hearts, maybe 3, if you count the heart of the home itself. Sam said, "I respect you." "I do not want to cause trouble," Grace said. "I know. I do not want trouble too." Then she said a sentence that opened a bad door. She said, "Just this once." She leaned forward. He leaned back. Their faces came close. The fog in the car grew thicker. A line was crossed. It was quick, but it was real. When it ended, both of them sat still. The car felt small. The world outside felt big and cold. Grace felt sick in her stomach. She whispered, "I am sorry." Sam said, "I am sorry." They drove home in quiet. The suya grew cold. At the gate, Peter looked at Grace's face and then at Sam's. He could not see what happened, but he felt the air was different. He opened the gate and said nothing. He was a wise man. He knew that some storms start with a soft wind. That night, Grace could not sleep again. She looked at Lily sleeping and felt a hard stone in her chest. She looked at her phone and wanted to throw it away. She thought of Daniel in a hotel bed, tired and alone, not knowing that a wall in his home had cracked. She wanted to go back in time by 1 hour, by 1 minute. Time does not walk backward. Morning came. Grace told herself she would end it. She would tell Sam they would keep things only work. She would confess to God and ask for strength. She would tell Daniel the truth, or at least tell him there was a crack and they needed to fix it now. But the day moved fast with calls and orders and a broken zipper on a dress. She said, "I will handle it after lunch." After lunch became after the school run. After the school run became tomorrow. Secrets do not like tomorrow. They like today. 2 days later, a message came from Sam. "Are you fine?" "I'm worried." Grace felt weak and strong at the same time. She replied, "I am fine. We must stop." He replied, "Yes, we must stop." Then another message came, "I miss your laugh." She typed, "Me too," and then deleted it. She typed, "We said stop." She sent that. He replied, "Yes," then nothing for an hour. "Then I will always respect you." Grace put down the phone and cried. She cried small tears that left big marks. At that same time, Daniel finished his work early and decided to surprise his family. He bought Lily a small sketchbook, and Grace a simple silver bracelet with a tiny bird charm. He smiled as he drove back. He felt light. He thought, "Today I will cook dinner and give them gifts." He called Peter. "Please tell Madam not to cook." "I am bringing food." Peter said, "Yes, sir," but his voice held a worry Daniel did not hear. Peter was not a gossip. But he was an old man who loved the family. He had watched Lily grow from a baby. He had guarded that gate like a soldier. He had seen many families break because no one spoke when the first crack showed. He cleaned the gate sign with slow hands and prayed in his heart. Let the truth come fast, not slow. Slow truth often comes too late. The sun was setting when Daniel's car turned into the street. At the same time, Grace and Sam were coming back from the tailor's shop with 2 boxes. The rain had stopped. The air was clear. Lily was at a friend's house for a school project. Peter saw both cars and his heart beat faster. He waved to open the gate. Daniel's car slowed as he saw the house. He saw the black car too. He smiled, thinking, "We will all eat together." A family evening. He parked outside, stepped out with a small bag of gifts, and walked toward the gate. Grace saw Daniel and felt the stone in her chest turn into ice. Sam saw Daniel and felt heat in his face. The two cars were now in the same frame, like two lines that used to be far now crossing. Peter opened the gate. The air held its breath. Daniel walked in with a smile. He had planned a warm surprise. He saw Grace by the car with Sam. He saw their faces. He did not know the full story, but his heart felt what their faces said. He stopped. The bag with the bracelet felt heavy in his hand. Grace tried to speak. "Danielle, you are home early." He nodded. Peter closed the gate slowly, like a man who did not want to make noise when a baby sleeps. Sam bowed his head. "Good evening, sir." He said it with respect, but his voice shook a little. Daniel looked at Sam. He looked at Grace. He did not shout. He did not throw the bag. He did not run. He stood still. Sometimes stillness is the loudest sound. "Where is Lily?" he asked. His voice was calm, but his eyes held a storm. Grace said, "She is at Ada's house for a school project." He nodded again. "Please come inside," Grace said. "We can talk." Daniel walked in. Grace followed. Sam stood by the car, unsure if he should leave or stay. Peter stood near the gate, like a tree. The house was very quiet. Even the clock seemed to tick softly. In the sitting room, Daniel put the gift bag on the table. He sat. He looked at Grace, as if trying to read a book with missing pages. "Do I need to ask?" he said. "Or will you tell me?" Grace's mouth felt dry. There was a time to hide and a time to speak. The time to hide had passed. She sat across from him and held her hands tightly together so they would not shake. She said, "I made a wrong choice. It started small. It was wrong. I'm sorry." Daniel closed his eyes. He breathed in and out. He opened his eyes again. He asked, with Sam. She nodded. He asked, "How far did it go?" She answered with honest words. She did not try to make it look cleaner than it was. She did not use big words or small ones. She spoke the truth. The truth was bitter in the air, but it was better than lies. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. He looked at the garden he had planted with Grace when they first moved in. He remembered how they had put each small tree in the soil together. He remembered the joy on her face when the first flowers opened. He felt a loss, but he also felt something else. Anger, yes, but under it, love still lived. Love was hurt, but it was not dead. He turned and asked, "Why?" Grace cried. She said, "I was lonely. You were gone so much. I wanted to feel seen. This is not your fault only. It is not my loneliness that is the problem. It is what I did with it. I did wrong. I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you the hole I fell into because I did not call out for help. I'm sorry." Daniel let the words sit in the room. He walked to the table, opened the small bag, and took out the bracelet. He had chosen the tiny bird because Grace liked bird stories. He held it and felt sick. He placed it back and closed the bag. He said, "I also left you alone. I left you with my tired body and my busy mind. I should have come home with my whole heart. I'm angry, I'm hurt, but I want to know if this can be fixed." "I do not know the answer yet." Grace nodded. She did not push. She did not beg with loud words. She said, "I will do what is needed. I will set strong walls. I will remove any door that leads to wrong places. I will own what I did. If you ask me to tell Anna or a counselor, I will. If you ask me to change my work hours, I will. If you ask me to share my phone, I will. I will let the light in. Secrets were my friends for a short time, but they became snakes." Daniel said, "First, Sam must not work here anymore. We will give him his pay and a reference for safe driving if needed. But he cannot stay." Grace said yes. The word was soft and sad, but it was also right. Daniel walked outside. Sam still waited by the car, nervous like a boy who broke a window. Daniel stood in front of him and said, "You cannot continue here. You know why? You will get your pay for the month and some extra so you can find another place. But you must leave now. I do not hate you. I'm angry. But I will not beat you with my words. You must never call my wife again. Do you understand?" Sam's face fell. He bowed his head. "Yes, sir," he said. "I'm sorry." He meant it. He felt heavy with shame. He also felt a small bit of relief that the line was clear. He went to the small room where he kept his bag, took his things, and walked to the gate. Peter opened the gate and looked at him with sad eyes. Peter said, "My son, a wise man leaves a fire before it burns his clothes." "Go and learn." "Do not stand near fire again," Sam nodded. He walked out into the street and disappeared into the evening. The black car stayed, but it felt empty without him. Daniel came back inside. He and Grace sat again. He said, "Lily must not be caught in a storm she did not cause. We will protect her. We will not fight in front of her. We will tell her only that Sam got another job." "We will keep her safe," Grace agreed. She wiped her eyes and breathed. She said, "I want to change, not just stop the wrong thing. I want to build something strong again. Will you try with me?" Daniel looked at her for a long moment. He saw the woman he married. He saw the wrong she had done. He saw his own part in letting silence live between them. He saw the years they still had, if they chose the hard road. He said, "I will try. Trying is not a small word. It is a promise to walk when running is not possible." The next days were not easy. Daniel slept in the guest room for a while. Grace cried at night, but did not call Sam. She deleted the messages. She changed her number. She gave Daniel the passwords to her phone and email. Not because he wanted to spy, but because trust needs help to grow again. They went to see a counselor named Mr. John. He was calm and kind. He listened more than he spoke. He gave them small tasks. He said, "Eat together without phones." He said, "Take a walk around your street every evening and talk for 10 minutes. He said, "When you feel angry, do not speak for 5 minutes. Drink water first, then speak with care." He said, "Pray together, even if your prayers are short." He said, "Touch hands each morning for 20 seconds. It sounds small, but it tells your body you are on the same side." They did the tasks. Some days they forgot and tried again. Some days they talked well. Some days they were quiet. Slowly the hinges on their door began to loosen. The door began to open again. Not wide at once, but it moved. One afternoon, Daniel took Grace to the site with the garden plan. He told the workers to rest for a while. He walked with Grace around the empty rooms. He showed her where the kitchen would be and where the sun would fall in the living room each morning. He asked for her ideas again. She laughed at a silly idea he had, and he laughed too. The laughter felt new and old at the same time. That night, Lily drew a picture of the family in front of their house. She drew 3 people with big smiles. She drew a small bird on a branch above them. She did not know about the bracelet. She just liked birds. She showed the drawing to her parents. They smiled and put it on the fridge. Time passed. The storm cloud moved, but the air still remembered rain. That is how storms are. You cannot pretend there was no water, but you can plant seeds after rain, and new plants can grow. One day, Grace met Anna at a quiet cafe. She told her the whole story. She cried, and then she breathed. Anna held her hand and did not judge. She said, "Thank you for telling me. Secrets grow in dark rooms." You opened a window. Keep it open. If you feel weak again, call me. Do not call Sam, call me. We will drink tea and speak truth. Grace nodded. She felt lighter. She also felt strong. She had learned something important. She had learned that the same heart that can break a promise can also keep one, if it is honest, humble, and watched by caring eyes. Months later, on a Sunday, pancakes were on the table again. Daniel flipped them with a grin. Lily tried to flip a small one and dropped it on the floor. They all laughed. Grace put on the silver bracelet with the tiny bird. Daniel had given it to her again a few weeks before. He had said, "I will not let one bad night steal all our good years." She had cried happy tears then. Now she touched the bracelet and felt hope. After breakfast, they went to church. The message was about making good choices when no one is watching. Grace listened with open ears. Danielle held her hand. Lily drew a bird on the back of the program and whispered that this one was called Sunny. When they returned home, Peter opened the gate and smiled. He liked the sound of their voices. He liked the way the house felt again. He thanked God in his heart. Not far away, Sam had found a job at a small delivery company. He rented a room with 2 other men. He sent money to his mother. He did not take jobs that would bring him to old places. He learned to move away from the first small wrong step before it turned into a road. One day he wrote a note to himself and pinned it to the wall. It said, "I am a calm mind on wheels. I will not drive into fire." Grace and Daniel did not talk about Sam anymore, not because they pretended he had never been there, but because they had let him go. They chose to water their own garden instead of staring at the dry patch where a wrong plant once grew. And now the lesson. If you are married and you feel lonely, do not drink water from a dirty cup just because you are thirsty. Call your spouse. Call a good friend. Call a counselor. Tell the truth early, when the first small wind blows. Do not wait for a big storm. Set clear walls around your heart. Do not stand too close to fire and say you will not burn. Fire does what fire does. If you are a worker in someone's house, be a safe person. Respect the home that feeds you. If you see a wrong path, turn away. You can leave a place to save your name and your future. It is better to lose a job than to lose your peace.